Islam, 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 and welcome to MHHS-Eyes Wide Open. This is your host, Anita L., along with my co-host, Mizraim Aleph L.
Islam, peace and love, indeed. Good day, good evening.
RVBey.
Well. Peace and love, Islam.
Love.
Thank you.
And Cujo Adwael.
Peace and love, Mars.
Peace and love, Noble. And she.
What up?
Yes.
So here.
Everything is up, man. A whole lot. You said what's up? Was that Cujo? Heck of a whole lot.
Always up. Something's always up.
You're right.
But seriously, yeah. It's on.
It's a lot. It's a lot going on. It's a lot.
Crazy.
It's a lot. But before we get into a whole lot of information, we first got to first want to let everybody know, that all of our internet listeners, that the chat room is open. Big shout out to family listening over in Great Britain, Islam. Family listening over in Japan, South Africa, Brother Albert over there in the Netherlands, Islam to you and all the more over there. Family listening over in, I should be saying near these corporations, because these are not land masses, these are corporations. So family near Great Britain, near South Africa, near the Netherlands, near Japan, near the Philippines, near Mexico, near Cuba, near Brazil, near Venezuela, and of course, family that we have yet to connect with on the North American soil. Islam, for all of those who are listening, peace and love. Thank you so much for joining us, and big shout out to our family listening, or rather calling in, filling up all the phone lines before the show even begins. Thank you so much for joining us, lending us your energy, information, sharing and building together as we all help in uplifting fallen humanity by uplifting ourselves. Thank you so much. So let's see. Each week we broadcast principles of nationality in action, and before each broadcast, public record of Moors who have been kidnapped by employees of these various corporations. These are municipal corporations. People are literally, the Aboriginal indigenous people are literally being kidnapped off the street by employees of these corporations, and they're holding them hostage for a demand of income. And if they're not holding them for a demand of income, they're holding them and submitting fraudulent and false documentation and receiving income based on them being held hostage. All right? So what we try to do is bring awareness to that and make a public record of those Moors who have been kidnapped. If we have the municipal corporation that those employees operate through, we make mention of that. If not, we just make mention of the Union State, because all Union States are bound and obligated to protect all people from foreign and domestic invasion. And that's what's going on here when these municipal employees of these municipal corporations literally violate the people's constitutionally secured rights. So we have our sister RVBey, who was kidnapped through a joint venture between Memphis and Shelby Corporation under the purview of Tennessee, Dawood Ill under the purview of Arkansas, Amir Moslemin Ill and Kusura Kush Bey under the purview of Missouri. Fatah Amin-Ra Bey under the purview of Ohio. Jeremy Taylor Ill, Cherry Thorne Bay, J. McCall Brooks Bay, Joseph Kanaday Ill, Kush Amir Bunch Ill, Emmanuel Billings Bay, Yassin Khalid Alamin Ill, and Michael Curry Bay are all kidnapped and being held under the purview of North Carolina. Let's see, Noble Crisco Ill under the purview of New Jersey. Messiah Aziz Ill and Crystal Ill both kidnapped through a joint venture between Mercer, Freehold, and Trenton Corporation under the purview of New Jersey. We're still waiting on an update on Patricia Bay's infant baby, and when we get that, we'll get back to you with an update on that.
Eldridge, the joint venture, that was a triple play right there. The last one you did, it was more than two, it was three. A triple play.
Right.
Everybody getting financed, right?
Yeah, everybody is. Let's see, Eldridge, Charon Fisher Ill, and Marquise Sevillon Ill, both under the purview of Indiana. Solomon Ilbay and Mumi Abu Bey under the purview of Texas. William Barrett Ill under the purview of Virginia. Romani Abidwell Ill, kidnapped by Chesapeake Corporation under the purview of Virginia. Che Ray Bay under the purview of West Virginia. Thomas Lee Bay under the purview of California. And Victor Eduardo Aguayo Juarez Ill by Harlem Corporation under the purview of Georgia. All right.
Can I say something? Can I just say something here? I'm just listening to you, right? And it's not just what you're saying that they're making finance, but the other reason that people need to be made aware is that none of them have done anything that's a crime for the most part.
That's right. That's right.
And the people who are listening and the people who are out there and the people, they actually believe that it is some sort of crime. When it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They love that, and they don't question it. Yeah. I just want to, it just came to my mind. I'm sorry. I'm listening. I'm like, and none of these things are injuries. None of these things are arrestable. None of these things are actually, a crime for the most part. Something they made up and said, "Oh, the law says that you can't do this," and people believe it. That's all.
Exactly. And we're going to talk more about that. But before we get into our subject for this broadcast, we want to first take a moment to acknowledge the passing of one of our great brothers that, it's just amazing that we didn't know much about in terms of him being a national, somebody's breathing kind of hard. Somebody's mic must be near their mouth or their nose, sorry. Somebody's mic. Is that you, Cujo?
Oh, that's probably me. Hold on.
It happens to me too, so I have to try to remember where's that mic. Anyway, our brother, most loved brother, Muhammad Ali, passed away, I believe, yesterday or the day before. And
no, actually, it was past Friday. So just to put it in perspective, he died on he transitioned on the Muslim holiday, or for Muslims all over the world. Just keep that in mind.
That's right.
Wow, yes. And Miz has done some great research, of which he is going to be presenting on the Sons of Allah on this the Thursday of this month, which will be the 16th of June. So you make sure and check it out, because who knew
it's awesome.
So much about Muhammad Ali and, you know, and the position he took as a Moor. All right, I went looking for information about Muhammad Ali and what I was looking for was the transcripts for his name correction, and wonder of wonder, there is none. But there was a transcript.
That's right.
Right?
We know what's up. Oh, my God.
That's right. That's right. There is a transcript of which I believe I do have for when they tried to compel him to participate in their military operation and fight against the brothers and sisters around the world, and he refused and went to court, and there is a transcript for that, but there is none for the name correction. But when I was like,
he went to the law of the land. It's a little bit different.
True indeed. But the interesting thing is he declared for the public record his free national appellation when he beat Sonny Liston and became the heavyweight champion, if I'm not mistaken. Or one of them dudes he fought after he beat them.
Well, Miss, hold on, Miss. I was listening, again. I'm on this listening thing, you know, because I just came back to playing, right? And when you said that, you know, he was a Moor, I noticed some people listening saying, "What's she talking about? He was a Moor. He wasn't a Moor. He was a Muslim. He was a black Muslim from the Nation of Islam." No. I know that's what they're thinking, right? But they have no idea, do they, Miss, on what he really did, what he really was. And Miss, you done pulled us some stuff. I know a lot of people are pulling up stuff, but it's when, you know, like, it's like everything that we teach or we learn or we desire to learn to assist our family condition. When you have the right perspective, you know, like sometimes others don't even think of it. Like when he said, when everybody knew he was a Muslim, and you said, "Oh, yeah, he was a Moor," like they don't know that a Muslim and a Moor is the same thing. You see what I'm saying? So since they don't know that a Muslim and a Moor is the same thing, they don't know what you talking about. You know, like, what's she talking about? Like, they don't get it. And, like, they don't know that he said, possibly they don't know that he said, listen, you know, they stripped our nationality. Like he said that. Like, they don't know that he said, I don't know, I didn't say black Muslim, I said Muslim. And he corrected, the commentators. Now, at the time when that was happening, no one knew what that, we didn't even know. We weren't aware of it. I mean, we felt the vibration of the energy and the realness of them, but they don't know that he said, no, I didn't say a black Muslim. I said I'm Muslim. You know, like little things like that are huge things. And Miss, I think you showed me that tape where, you know, like you looped it back, like to get it clear with people. And where he also said that he had declared his nationality. He didn't say he didn't just say he changed his name. He said he declared his nationality. Am I correct on that, Miss?
Oh, well, no, he was saying how he wasn't going to the Vietnam War because, you know, they never, what was he going to kill him for? Shoot them for what? They never called him a nigger, and they never robbed him of his nationality. Like he said that. Some people have seen that and whatnot, but that's what the man said, you know, straight up. But I want to say, too, though, you know, big acknowledgement to Cujo with the 77 amazing facts about the Moor, because in there, picture of him and the brother Ibrahim Salam Ill, edited by Shikis Naji Ula Ill, etc. But in that particular book, you know, it provoked the thought, whereas the Muhammad Ali is in there with the fez on. But when you look into the Brethren Moor, and it's funny because to me, personally, it's so much we could learn from him. And it was like, man, everything that me and Cujo was basically talking about on the last Sons of Allah was so applicable to the perspective of when you're looking at the life of this brother as well, because we have mentioned that in certain aspects. But it's just so much to say about this. You know what I mean? As far as like to say he was the greatest, like people might not understand how that is so true. Like how it's actually true. Because, you know, that concept of the greatest right now is Steph Curry on the basketball team. Like but you know what I mean? But when you're talking about adversity, and this is why I be saying more stop complaining and realize what we got to do. Because to stand up in the face of adversity like that during that time, you know what I mean? That you talking beyond sports. You're talking about a Muslim, a Moor, for real, because come on, the 5 civilized appellations is RVBey, Al, and Ali. And I know people are going to say, well, if it wasn't for Elijah Muhammad, etc., he wouldn't have had that. Well, we got to go back further than that. If it wasn't for Noble Drew Ali, would he have had that foundation to give him? You know what I mean? So my thing is
further than that, find out what those titles by degree actually mean in reality of life. But you know, hey, that's all.
And no disrespect, I'm just saying let's be real about the information. You know what I mean? So all of it goes back and correlates right back to Moors. If nothing else was said, the picture it's multiple pictures, not just one. From he got pictures when he was young to, you know, before he passed, where he has the fez on. So his actions were that of a Moor. You know what I mean? I mean, this man was definitely willing to give up everything. Absolutely everything.
And with
you know what I mean?
Conscious, like nobody else could even understand. But
for principles, that was right. And I could just imagine, you know, the influence at that time in the 60s, and even he's talking about it. You know what I mean? This is why nationality actually is everything. Because as this man said, we could just go in for days and stuff. You know what I mean?
But
days.
I want to say this. No, but you're right. But I want to say this. In the 60s, you know, this is an important point. In the 60s, you know, like that was extreme adversity, and he stood on like a solid rock, right? And then he told you in the last clip that you showed me that, hey, look, I'm going to the law of the land and justice, he said. I'm going for justice and the law of the land. And I'm just saying, I'm sure y'all going to knock it out. Like you said, we could be going on forever.
And again, you know, this is where it comes back to the concept, because like you mentioned earlier, people say, they're going to say, oh, well, he wasn't a Moorish American. He was NOI. This is why we have to understand the difference between nationalities and organizations. All right, because he was born a Moor regardless. It's just he became aware of the knowledge, the Muslim knowledge. You know what I mean? So when you see Noble Drew Ali naming or identifying all of these different appellations, you know, and saying that all of these are Muslims, let's keep it 100. Don't act like he wasn't a Moor. That's what I'm saying. He was definitely, all of his actions was likened to that. When you look back at what's left on the record, you know, and just put it together, knowing what you know, that's undeniable, man. But I could go in all night on this, but what
I would like now, right at this time, you know, before we get into our program, because Ms. Raheem is going to, you know, give a lot of information about Muhammad Ali on the Sons of Allah broadcast that is will be airing on the 16th of this month. What I would like to do at this time is just to take a moment of silence, about a minute, to just acknowledge the passing of this great Moor, Muhammad Ali. So if we can all just sit quiet for a minute and just, you know, just send thoughts of love and good energy and vibrations to the brother so that he can pass on to the next realm with that good vibrations from the family, knowing that he completed his mission. Islam. So with that, let's just take a moment of silence.
Say, tell me how you came to get such a Roman name as that. Well, as I understand, I'm Cassius Marcellus Clay VI, and my great-great-grandfather was a Kentucky slave, and he was named after some great Kentuckian. Well, Cassius Marcellus Clay is a great name in Kentucky. And really, where he was from or where it was all originated, I couldn't tell you. But since I've reached a little fame in boxing, most people want to know where am I from and where did I get that name. But really, I haven't really checked on it. So I see that I'm going to have to go look into it. You'll have to look it up. See what it's all about now that I'm getting a little interview. Black was always bad in the Western world. The black cat was the bad luck. If you get put out of a fraternity group, you get blackballed. Shortly put, are the black Muslims taking you for a ride? I said not black Muslim. I beg your pardon. Black was always bad. So the only thing that made me feel good as a Muslim. I said not black Muslim. I beg your pardon. See, the name Muhammad is the most common name in the world. There are more and more. Muhammad.
All right. Islam. There's so much more to go in on regarding Muhammad Ali. It's just so much. Who knew? So, we might independently, also want to do some research into Muhammad Ali because this man was so much more than what they portrayed. Even in the movie about him, he was so much more than what they portrayed.
They left out a whole lot of things in the movie that you can, like that clip right there that he just played, right? Or then and even in that, I mean, his conscience. He's like, look, they talk about religion. Like he said, look, they all good. He further says you need to follow all the daggone prophets. They're all good. He said choose what you want. And he said, look, it's like this. You got rivers, you got lakes, you got streams, right? They're all called something different, but they all hold water. And, like, yeah, that's my favorite. That's one of my favorite ones right there. But, it's so much that wasn't in the movie, but here we're listening to his voice say it. See, so those who have never wasn't privy to what was going on during the time of all of this, all of his greatness and true action, may not never have even heard his voice, or because of the generations even know who he was, or whatever like that. So it's real good to actually look at these things and hear what he said. There's no interpretation. And because another thing about him, everybody knows that he never bit his tongue. He said, and he was charismatic. He was everything. He was truly the greatest. Yeah.
Yes, he was. And he absolutely did comprehend, because a lot of people don't they think the Moorish science is like complex and elaborate. It's very simple. And I remember watching Muhammad Ali, and I remember him talking, and I used to listen to him talk.
Yeah.
Because when he spoke, he was future right then and there. Later on, when I started reading about metaphysics and speaking what you want, not what you got, I realized that man was a master when it comes to that particular component of the science, because he spoke it. Once he made the decision, he started speaking it, and he never stopped until it was an absolute reality. And if you, I'm not into the fighting thing. I don't think I'm just not there personally. But if you watch him when he was fighting, when I was a young girl, I had no choice to sit and watch him while everybody else watched. But if you watch him fighting, he is the people that he's fighting, they're like powerless towards him, because even while he's in the ring, he is forecasting the future, and because they're listening to him, they don't even realize that they're participating in making what he has said come to fruition, because they didn't comprehend the science, but he did.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And he utilized. So, for a lot of us who be wondering, why did these things happening to me, and how can I change it? Watch Muhammad Ali.
I learned the life and works of him, and you'll see how. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Exactly. And let's really look at this, right? He was about everything that, most people are about today, with the concept of getting in their own proper person.
Yes.
You got to really look at this, right? People sit around and they complain that I'm enslaved, and, all of these different types of like non-progressive mentalities, right? But look at Muhammad Ali for a minute. He said that he had the Roman name, right? That's what the dude asked him, how did you get that Roman name? And at that time, before he got in his own proper person for the record, he said he was Cassius Clay the sixth. Marcellus Cassius Clay the sixth, right? And his grandfather was a slave in Kentucky, et cetera, et cetera. So not only did he break different records, like he actually broke so-called slavery, or the slave branding, or the property aspect of his existence. He broke that in his family after 6 generations. You know what I mean? Like in the 6th generation of that, he broke that chain by getting in his proper person. So what I'm saying is, you got to look at all the different types of records that he broke. It's definitely a lot to really look at. Another thing, I think, there's a lot that could be said, but I saw an interview with the European Teddy Atlas, and he was really like just breaking it down as far as why this brother is actually the greatest. Now, we got multiple perspectives out there, but he really broke it down, because what he said is, if you really put it in focus, right, that with Muhammad Ali, and let me first say this, symbolically, he's the example of standing on your square, because he was in the boxing ring, which is a square, and then he did it in the language that we use as far as standing on your lawful position. So take that from his life too, as far as a semiotic lesson. But Teddy Atlas was saying this, that also he showed you that you can do everything wrong, right, and still make things right, or make them great, because the way he boxed, he never really threw his guards up. He just was all mental eye coordination, really, among rhythm and other things. But the way he was boxing, basically, it was not textbook. You know what I mean? Taunting people, putting your guards down and just dodging punches. That's not what the textbook says. So he created his own lane with that. You know what I mean? Everything he did basically marked his individuality. I'm not saying he didn't have struggles. Everybody does. But he did something about it in the face of all of that adversity, fam, and in front of all of that adversity. So what I'm saying is, let's not let these different Moorish liberators, really, when you look at their message and the examples that they made on the international community, right? We have to take lessons from their lives. And specifically, these different groups and things of that nature, especially trying to claim, Black Lives Matters and things of that nature, all right? Let's be for real. Let's really ameliorate the fact that, number one, we're not black, and I'm not saying I'm trying to get down with anybody, but, like, where's the lessons at based off these ancestors? If y'all claiming that they was that and that, that these lives matter, there's a lot that we should be taking from their life lessons that they left behind, a lot to learn from these people. The first thing is knowing we're not Negro, black, and color, and getting rid of those colonial brands. He did it starting with his quote-unquote name, or nom de guerre, the Roman name, as the reporter asked him. And then this man turned around and said the only thing that connected him with Syria and Morocco and everything of that nature was being a Muslim. And then if you go back far enough, you know the correlation between the interchangeable words of Moor and Muslim or Muslim. And this is what another thing to emphasize is that when he said, I didn't say black Muslim, I said Muslims, all right? The fact that he even made a distinguishment between the two is what matters. You understand? That's what really matters, is that he was aware enough to even make that distinguishment. So, I mean, it's a lot. You can't say he didn't know about more ancestors. And I know a lot of MCs have been giving it up, but, this man was also a lyricist, and definitely an international rights man, a free man. You know what I mean?
And he knew how to do the moonwalk too. He could walk backwards while he was rapping.
Yeah, that's what the dude said. He said, "Look, man, this brother created the moonwalk before Michael Jackson, and was throwing his hands while he was doing it." You know what I mean? So tagging jaws. So I just think that's hilarious when you put it in that focus, that perspective, at a time where I wasn't alive, but I'm pretty sure you might attest to the fact, it was a different era. Like, it was we see some of the same things going on, but as far as where the technology was, like, when you saw a brother on the tube, I can only imagine it was like a really good look. But then you get in the lyricist, somebody who's, like you said, predicting the future and putting out mantras of being the greatest, confidence through the roof, social messages and political and national messages and divine messages. I mean, like, no, that is you. I don't know who to compare to that brother. Like, I don't think you can compare anybody to him, because even though I think that anybody from any walk of life can take something from the symbolic aspect of his life and the actual factual aspect of his life, in all lives for that matter. But this Moor was definitely the greatest for the fact that he was in more than one arena doing what needed to be done, and you just got to respect it. So, yeah, like the brother said, when you were saying he was using the science, when he's taunting people, putting his chin out there and never getting touched, people are missing by, like less than an inch. That's math. That's science. That's rhythm. That's timing. That's all mind. That's mental. That's man. So, you know, I mean, just whatever aspect you want to talk about. Yeah, he was the greatest. Definitely. Absolutely.
Islam. Well, that was just a great mini tribute to Muhammad Ali, and like I said, you'll get more on the 16th of June on the Sons of Allah broadcast, 9 o'clock. So make sure and check in. Mark your calendars for that day. Before we get into the subject matter of our broadcast, I just want to let everyone know that Moorish Heritage and History School will be broadcast 3-week powerful and PowerPoint presentation entitled Truth About Family Service Programs, and it will give you a lot of information on how to protect the family from these foreigners who are breaking up the mother, the father, and stealing the babies and giving them over to complete strangers whom they then pay, all right? And so we need all the information we can get so that we can ensure that our families are protected from this activity that is genocide. So make sure and join us. We will be at the National Theater June 8th, June 15th, tomorrow, June 8th, tomorrow, June 15th, and June 22nd. These 3 weeks will begin at 7 p.m. as opposed to our usual 7:30 p.m. slot. So make sure you be there on time. All right? So with that.
Oh, well, you forgot something. This is for everyone. This is for the family. And essentially, you know, as you just said, these people are saying their family services doing these things, and they're really not your family. And we're going to show you that. But forgot how the term goes. And this, we talked about it the other day. It's only the present that can move the past into the future, or the past in the future. What we do right now. So with that being said, and with everyone knowing that, you know, this is a matter of stealing birthrights. There's no question about that. So that means that the mothers have to know, or the young wombs that are coming up, they also have to be made absolutely aware of this, so that they are with how to deal with it. And it's not that, it's just that by knowing. See, like we said before, you can only be what you know. So once you know, then you know that exudes from you. So what we're doing is young sisters who are 20 years old and younger, who are interested in coming, are honored to come without having to make any contribution. And the door accepted donation will be 7 notes as opposed to 10 for everyone else. Everyone else is just 7 for these 3 weeks of this family service, truth about family services and their programs and their so-called courts. But all sisters 20 years of age and under who wish to come can come in as honorarily. Islam.
All right, Islam. All right, so today's
bring
broadcast,
your daughter, your sister. Bring your daughter, bring your sister. Bring your
yes. Today's broadcast is entitled International Law and the American Constitution, 1791. What do they have in common, and is there a connection? I saw this article, and I'm going to read some of the articles, and some of the points in the article, and then we're going to have a discussion about it, because what was said in this article was most interesting because it demonstrates that these modern Europeans, they always, a lot of times they talk about the American Constitution, but they really don't know the history that is behind that American Constitution, what it means, who is it protecting. It's not just protecting a certain group of people, it's protecting all people, but especially the Aboriginal indigenous people of this land. And one of the challenges that we all have is most people, especially modern Europeans, do not know that the American Constitution, 1791, is international law. It is international law. It was written to ensure the liberties of the Aboriginal indigenous people of the land, Moors, against the newly constructed nation for modern Europeans, the United States of America. Now, the reason that this Constitution had to be written was because when the modern Europeans came over, actually I should say when the ancient Europeans came over here, they established companies. Today those companies are called states. You got your New York state, you got your Connecticut state, Massachusetts state, which all of these were Virginia state. All of these were initially called the Massachusetts Bay Company, the Connecticut Company, the New York Company, the New Jersey Company, the Virginia Company. These were all initially companies. And those companies brought over on ships modern Europeans, today misclassified as white people and Americans, when they're not white people and they're not Americans. And they brought those beings over here to work in these companies that were established, all right? But what was happening with them is the British Moors was treating them horribly. If you go and do like history on the sweatshops and how some of these labor laws came into being, think of that and multiply it times 10 or even maybe 20 or probably 100. That's the treatment that the modern Europeans were receiving from the British Moors. And they came to the Moors that were here for assistance. And that is how this American Constitution was established. Now, most people, when they hear the word international, they think, "Oh my God, they're talking about faraway countries." You know, they think the United Nations is in Switzerland. You know, that's foreign laws. They're way over there. That has nothing to do with here. International law has everything to do with the interchange between nations. That's people, that's family. International is not far away. International is the agreement between two families on how they are going to behave, especially when one of the families is not original to the land. Hence, you have the American Constitution, 1791, and it is the American Constitution because it is addressing issues on American soil. So it was interesting to read this article, and I want to read it to you because this is an article that was written by some modern European patriots. And once again, they're going after Obama because Obama is trying or attempting to get people back into the American Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land, and the people need to recognize this. So this article starts out by saying, for someone who supposedly taught constitutional law, President Obama certainly seems to have trouble understanding it. Last year, the Obama administration, now I just want to make mention here, when it was administration, nobody was calling it the Bush administration, you know, but because Obama, it has the appearance of being Asiatic when in fact he's modern European. It's the Obama administration. But when the Obama administration tried to claim that international treaties trump U.S. law while arguing a case in the Supreme Court, Senator Ted Cruz vehemently disagrees and is very wary of a precedent that may be set if the court agrees with Obama's Justice Department. Here we go, Obama's Justice Department. But nobody was saying it was the Bush's Justice Department when Bush was running around doing all kind of stupid craziness, all right? But it's the Obama's administration. Why? Because he's trying to move everybody back to the American Constitution, so he's doing a really bad thing, right? No, he's not. The article says, Justice Department attorneys are advancing an argument at the Supreme Court that could allow the government to invoke international treaties as a legal basis for policies such as gun control that conflict with the U.S. Constitution. Now, let's talk about that for a minute. What gun control today conflicts with the American Constitution? I'll tell you what it is. See, the people in their private capacity have a right to bear arms. And there is nothing in this American Constitution that says in order for you to bear arms, you have to first get permission, register with a third party, and you got to disclose private and confidential information about you, your family, you know, your mental capacity. Yet, the employees of the municipal corporation who clearly have demonstrated and has been and is a matter of public record, some of them are not mentally sound and they are carrying around guns. All right? So when they talk about these policies and gun control, they're the ones that the guns need to be taken away from because clearly, as they demonstrate in the media, they are out of control and do not have the mental capacity to be carrying around a gun because they're injuring the people. So yes, the gun control is for them, but it is not for the people in their private capacity. But they're trying to throw a twist on this because, see, Obama is trying to get people back into the American Constitution. Let me read another argument. Their argument is that a law implementing an international treaty signed by the United States allows the federal government to prosecute a criminal case that would normally be handled by state or local authorities. Let's look at that. Many of these so-called cases that they are prosecuting today have to do with the right to travel, which it is a matter of record. It is not a criminal case. It is a constitutionally secured liberty. And you have these so-called local authorities who have no delegation of authority that is administrating a federal program that the states get to participate in, and so they hired these municipal corporations as third-party contractors to a federal program, and these people do not have any judicial authority. That is a matter of record and a matter of law. They do not have any judicial authority, and any decision that they make is a nullity. And so what is Obama saying? Well, you never had the authority, but we let you get away with some crap. But now we're going to take it all back, and we're going to make sure everybody knows. No, we're not. You're not going to be doing whatever you feel like anymore without authority. We are bringing this all back to the Constitution. And they're going to get pissy mad because here's the thing. If they do that, now, people, let me just say this. The motor vehicle program is a federally funded program. Federally funded, that means that they give money to the state to administer this, to participate in administering this program, and the state hires the third-party contractor, which is your municipal corporation, and they get paid. So they're not going to get that finance anymore. And when the people realize that they not only do they not have any power to do what they're doing and never did, they're going to be walking in the streets like a lot of the homeless people they helped to put there.
Yeah.
So they're very concerned.
Yes.
Yes, they're very concerned. The tables are about to turn, and what they've been putting on the people is about to them, that boomerang is coming back. It's on the way back. Then it says the Constitution created a limited federal government with only specific enumerated powers. The Supreme Court should not interpret the treaty power in a manner that undermines this bedrock protection of individual liberty. Well, now let's talk about this individual liberty, because liberty is that. Yeah. And in that American Constitution, everybody's liberties are constitutionally secured. And within that liberty is your right to travel, as well as the right to have the basic necessities of life. Now, under the so-called the state has contracted a lot of third-party contractors, like your DCF or your whatever they call themselves, the so-called what is a good word? The so-called agency against family. The agency against family unity services. All right. They are federally. None of these corporations have a product or service in terms of making something, okay, from some supplies that they brought over here on their back. None of these corporations are doing that. So the only way that they can be in business is through federal funding. Really, they are the biggest welfare recipients on this continent. And they want to talk about the people. No, these corporations are the welfare recipients because every penny they get is from the feds. And then you're going to sit here and talk about the Constitution created a limited federal government. You're right, it did. But then the feds, because the feds cannot give money, the feds cannot give income to a municipal corporation, because if you go and do your research, you will find that almost every municipal corporation is chartered by Great Britain or Spain or some other foreign corporation. So the United States federal government cannot give income to a foreign corporation that is physically injuring the people, but they can give it to the state. And then the state will hire a third-party contractor of the federal program, and that's how the municipal corporations, which is a foreign corporation, can get income, and that is treason. But you can't just walk up and say that. You have to draw the story out, and you must have verifiable documentation to prove that, and it's all there if the people just take a little bit of time to do the initial research. So let's look at the next point they raised. The problem here is precisely that Congress, rather than implementing the treaty consistent with our constitutional system of federalism, I have to look up that and see what that means, enacted a statute that, if construed to apply to petitioners' conduct, would violate basic structural guarantees and exceed Congress's enumerated powers. Now, let me just say what they're saying there is the petitioner would be the people. So now if the people can go right to the Fed and complain about the states or the municipal corporation, they will no longer be able to get those federal income that they've been getting to perform a service that they've been performing outside of the boundaries of the program they are administering, which means that, and a lot of people don't know this, once the people get hip to this and complain to the feds, the money stops.
Yeah.
But you have to complain. You have to write. You can't make a phone call, and you cannot go there and stand up and say it. You have to write, which means you got to know who in the federal level is administering this program. That's who you need to write to and watch and see if the money doesn't stop. Then it said, so if the administration is right, the treaty power could become a backdoor way for the federal government to do everything from abolishing the death penalty nationwide, which is not supposed to be. Now, I want to say something about this death penalty nationwide, okay? Because here's the thing: if you really do the analysis, it's a corporation that is imposing the death sentence on the people. It's a corporation that is imposing the death sentence on the people. What that means is that's a slick way to murder people, and they call it the death sentence. Well, if the feds step in, then these states and these municipal corporations will no longer be able to murder people and then call it death sentence because they alleged to have committed a crime that, first of all, was never a crime. All right. So most of the municipal corporations employ modern Europeans. So they are very afraid that the way that they have been profiting off of the pain and suffering of the people is about to end. But the people need to wake up and pay attention to this because if they pass something like, if the people don't know, then they're still going to continue to do what they've been doing. It doesn't, I mean, I'm not saying it's going to last forever, but they're going to continue to do what they're doing. So
what you're saying is, I just want to say, even when they pass this and they take away these powers for adjudication, because they never really had them anyway, but what they're actually going to do is take away the programs that they really were supposed to be implementing for the federal government, but they turned them into, raping and extorting the people. So what you're saying is they're still going to make the offer to unknown people who may still be in a mental state, slavery on the sly, and still will believe whatever these people say because all this time they've been believing that there's somebody that they're not. So those people are going to still get grounded up because they're not going to stop making the offer. It's just a matter of you accepting it. Okay.
Yes, exactly. And I want to end with Article 6 of the American Constitution because, when people talk about, he's going to implement international law, well, clearly you didn't read the American Constitution, Article 6, and you didn't also read where it says that they can't make treaties. All right? But I want to read Article 6 because I just want people to get clear on what we're talking about here. It states, all debts contracted and engagements entered into before the adoption of this Constitution shall be as valid against the United States under this Constitution as under the Confederation. Well, what Confederation are they talking about? To the American Constitution. Oh, was it the Treaty of Peace and Friendship? Wow. So now what does the Treaty of Peace and Friendship say? The Treaty of Peace and Friendship is actually allowing the modern Europeans, after they broke from Great Britain, to stay here. If there was no treaty, there would be no American Constitution. There would be no modern Europeans on this land because the Moors of Great Britain would have snatched them up and taken them overseas back to Great Britain, and we wouldn't be having this conversation today. Islam.
And just to interject something too, just so Moors can get the full scope of how we're related to this history as Moors. You have Noble Drew Ali, who is an actual heir to the estate, right? And him setting up a religious corporation called Moorish Science Temple. Just like whoever else had their corporation called whatever. Where are those people at right now? They're a state. They might be corporate. They might be de facto. They might be practicing color of law, but they're a state. Conceptually, they're a state. They're a body politic. It's the exact same thing that Noble Drew Ali set up for the Moors, and then that's why he said enforce the Constitution, because Article 6 of the Constitution parallels Act 6 of the Divine Constitution and Bylaws.
Mhm.
That's why there's 7 acts, because there were 7 articles in the Constitution.
Mhm.
And the purpose of the Moorish Science Temple of America was to teach dumb niggers to be constitutional.
That's true.
And you had your domestic constitution, your low-level constitution, that was in the Moorish Science Temple of America, that Moors are supposed to read, Moors are supposed to have on them, just because it's your constitution. Just like you go to any one of these Europeans around here, you got a constitution on you, bam, they pull out their pocket one time for you. They don't even play with it. They'll have their pocket constitution.
That's right.
The constitutional Europeans.
Yeah,
right?
that's
They'll
right.
have their
They're
constitution. Right? So Act 6 of the Divine Constitution and Bylaws, that remember every time Noble Drew Ali said, yeah.
My fault. Please don't lose your thought, and I don't want to cut your wisdom. But when you said that, I mean, to put it in simplest terms, people should not leave their house without their pocket constitution, just like they wouldn't leave the house without their IDs or whatever. You know what I mean? Without your keys. That should be in your pocket as well. That should be a part of your, you know what I mean, identity protection, etc. Islam, bro. I just want to add that in.
It's all good. So Act 6, with us all members meaning nationals, because you have to have a nationality to claim it as a member. You can't be a member but not have a nationality.
That's right. That is right.
And this is the same stuff that they're gonna quote parts and say, oh yeah, Kudrow violated 3 and 4 and 2 and whatever like that, but they're never gonna bring up Act 6.
Right.
That their obligation is to teach our people their nationality and divine creed. That's what's supposed to be done with the institution. And in teaching them their nationality and divine creed, that they will know that they are part and parcel of this said government. You're a state. You're your own entity amongst all these entities.
And
And
you know,
know that
Kudrow,
they,
when you said state, that's why. And when you said state, you know, everybody can, what are you talking about? We ain't no state. They don't understand what state means. Not that you have to do that now, but tomorrow we're going to be breaking it down. That word right there, as well as many others, keeps them from understanding what's going on. But go ahead.
Right. And speaking on that, right in line with what Noble Drew Ali said right after government, or that you're a state, to know that you're not Negro, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians. Because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders.
Absolutely.
So your state of mind was corrected to look at things from the right perspective moving forward. That if you have a domestic constitution, then logically there has to be something higher than that, because the domestic doesn't get power on its own. Something has to give the domestic divine constitution and bylaws power. right? Part of the power was the fact that the individual who documented it was an heir to the estate. So he had jurisdiction to speak on constitutional matters relative to a particular group of people, not involving all the other states.
Mm-hmm.
Because that one individual recognized that we're in a disproportionate position compared to everybody else. Who came after them?
Mm-hmm.
So the correction of the concepts starts with recognizing constitutional authority and law.
Yep.
And then you start there, which again goes back to Muhammad Ali again. That his right to not go to war was based on his religion.
Yeah.
But he knew that that was a constitutional human right. That wasn't some right given to him because he was Muslim.
Absolutely.
He wasn't saying it out of his mouth. It's because I have a nationality and my name is Ali, why I have the authority not to go to war.
Right.
Right? That's what he wanted to say.
Damn near did, if you really listen to him.
But then said that, if you really know what's being said.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah. Because he went in. He said, as a Muslim minister,
Yes.
this was his position. And then remember, he did make the distinguishment between black Muslims and Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
He made that distinguishment. And we went in on that on the last Sons of Allah with the distinguishment of the black Muslims and the and Muslims. But for sure, he was enforcing the Constitution. I mean, he said it out of his mouth that he was seeking justice under the laws of the land. Like, that's what he said.
Yes.
He said that. Like, you know what I mean? So, for sure, he was about that life. And you know what I'm saying. He was definitely about that. And like you said, he knew that was a religious right protected by the Constitution, but not just that. He also took the position as a minister and still protected his right to be exempt from going to war, etc., or not obligated, shall I say. You know what I mean?
He said that ministers, according to the Constitution, he was also, he said, according to the law of the land, ministers are exempt from going to war. He says that I'm a minister, a Muslim minister. That was just one of the points that he made. But what he was enforcing and talking about was not no corporate state bull crap and rules and regulations. He was talking about the law of the land. He said it. He said, using the law of the land. Because clearly there's diversity of citizenship, or there's diversity, period.
Right. And let's put it in perspective again, too, that when he was talking about his religious freedom, he wasn't stuck to the concept of what institution he was going to on Sunday or on Friday or, you know what I mean, Wednesday. That wasn't his concept of religious freedom. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's way deeper than what church you go to. It's way deeper than what mosque you go to. You know what I mean? This is way deeper when you're talking about religion. So, again, people keep shunning it. This man stood the square on that. So I don't have respect for those who act like, it's a contagion. I understand and I respect the fact that they might not know what it is, but it's like throwing the baby out with the bathwater when people say, oh, I'm not American. You know what I mean? Like, no, you don't know what it means. That's why you're disowning it. But it goes right back to the fact that what Noble Drew Ali even said this was. This is a divine and national movement, all right? And your nationality is divine and national. So your birthrights are divine and national. Your born rights, all of these things are divine and national. And it's reflected in the Constitution. It's not whether we want to go join the MST of A or whether we want to go join the Baptist church or whether we want to go join the mosque. No disrespect to any of those, specifically not the MST of A as it was intended to be. But what I'm saying is religious freedom goes deeper than that. That's giving you what nationality should look like, what congregation, what aggregation should look like. You know what I mean? What to practice nationhood in your environment, and like you said, to cure the sin sick, etc. For all of these different things, for you know what I mean, socialization. Some people call it fellowship, whatever. But to actually congregate and have a body, aggregate body to congregate with. That's what that is, and that's fine. But I just want to emphasize the fact, and don't ever let that be forgotten. And then I don't know what's up with these people, man, but you got people talking about, for real though, you got people talking real crazy about Moors, right? But then they want to venerate Muhammad Ali like he wasn't a Moor. I don't get it. No, seriously, I don't get it.
Whatever you want to call them. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
man.
you know what I mean? They got all types of promotions for somebody to try to come bash Islam, etc. Then why even give Muhammad Ali props if you're not about Islam? Just why?
Right.
You know what I mean? Real facts. Just saying.
Straight
so,
up.
you know, and let's be for real, it's been documented. You're talking about the world's most famous Muslim ever, all right? The world's most famous Muslim ever. All due respect to Muslims. You know what I mean? All due respect to everybody. This brother had worldwide recognition based off of the different era of exposure at that time. So, I mean, you got to pay respect. You just got to give up respect. This was a brethren. And if you go back to when the reporter asked him, how did you get that Roman name? Brother said it was a slave name, but then he also said he needed to still go research it, which was what? Inspiration to go study. So he knew it was a slave name or so-called non-Dagir. It wasn't his national appellation, right? And also, again, can't forget his second wife, the sister, who wouldn't take his autograph because he had a Roman name, which made him feel like he still had to get in his proper person. So sisters recognize, again, we all influence each other out here. So, you know what I mean? Just the whole semiotic perspective of this man's life is something we should not ever forget this. You know what I mean? Not the fact that he died and we're going to remember the fact that he died forever. Like, no, what his life was about. Just like we try to ameliorate what Noble Drew Ali was doing, it's the same influence back in your face again. You know what I mean? In certain aspects, please keep me clear. You know what I mean? But in certain aspects, you'll see that in the brother. You know, to self-proclaim the autonomy, the self-determination, and to stand up, you know, in front of Rome, illegally, unlawfully get stripped of his heavyweight title, world title, the world heavyweight champ. So that's international on its own merit. And then everything he did was on the level of international affairs, things that was always internationally accepted. So, you know what I mean? That his Muslim legacy, his Moorish legacy, cannot be forgotten or circumscribed or downplayed or attributed, you know, or discredited Noble Drew Ali in the fact that everybody, every organization after 1913 already admitted that they got the information from Noble Drew Ali, and specifically, as was addressed on the Last Sons of Allah, the fact that they got the knowledge of how to resist, all right? That was the language used specifically, with some knowledge on how to resist from the noble prophet Drew Ali. Speaking of resisting the Europeans' oppression. So, there it is in your face again. and that I yield the floor. Islam.
Islam. And if you're gonna give Muhammad Ali so much credit,
gotta give MHHS-Eyes.
Right. And on top of him, just remember that he came in as Cassius Clay and did the name correction, but he also got put on. Remember, he got put on to do that.
Yeah.
He got schooled how to do that.
Yeah.
Somebody knew about that and put him on to that he took it to a different level where they didn't think it was going to go. So remember the background people, Elijah Muhammad and Fard Muhammad, who are also still members of the temple. So don't think that because you're hearing a different name that there's a gap in the Moorish connection. Like you say, 1913 to 1930, and then Nono Drew Ali, then all these other groups, and then Muhammad Ali in the 60s saying Ali and speaking constitutional. Prior to Muhammad Ali, that was still Moorish science going on.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a front in the open that it's not Moorish science, black Muslims or whatever like that, but know that all the ministers, know that all the captains and all that stuff, people who were playing FOI and all that, they had to know the realness of the foundation of them.
Yeah.
And you can't talk about NOI without talking about Moorish Science Temple and Noble Drew Ali.
Right. This is absolutely the truth.
So,
and my fault. One thing I want to say too is those are great sources to get outlets, to get sources and congregate with. But the main thing we should learn is about our natural born rights, our natural birthrights. The fact that we are all Moors, we were all born Moors, and the reasons why. So again, the fact that it's just so amazing, man, that you know how they say there's nothing new under the sun? We got to venerate, because it's still some of the same challenges. Like you say, you still got dirty Moors today. Still got dirty Europeans. You still got clean everybody, dirty everybody. So, to see today some of the same principles people are standing on to eradicate the same situations that were going on back then. And they gave you the blueprint on how to do the thing. And really paying attention to it, you'll miss it and be going over things that was already established or clarified. So, yeah, that's what I was saying that to say that, everybody had an influence from the past to the future, good, bad, or indifferent. Everybody influenced everything that we see today. And that's just what it is, like the brother in the saying.
I had a question for Tujo back when it kind of slipped me now what it was back when he was speaking about the temples in I apologize now what it was to move forward with, but you were talking about how the temples were set up. I'm only saying that because I'm trying to look at what is happening now with them based on what we know it was meant to happen, how the prophet intended they really were. And I remember this being told to me a while back, and I didn't get it, but it really was like they're like institutions and hospitals for the sin sick. Come in and learn about your national and your birthright. And link yourself back to the family and nations, and that's what that hub. That's what they were really meant for in that respect, to definitely teach government. And that's what's so frightening now is that and principles of government, and to uplift self with divine principles as well, so that we could strive to be better Muslims. So when I look at it, we all know they're definitely not teaching government today. Anybody that goes in there, whether they're in a position of of some title authority or even people who are going in there. Like it's really like very chaotic in when you look at the fact that I know, others know what really was meant to be taught there, and it has turned into something totally not that, but it's being used and, I guess it's being operated more like a private club rather than a civic organization. I guess that would probably explain what's happening now. I don't know. I know there was a sellout.
Yeah.
I know there was problems.
I mean, if more of them even just did that, like forget about every day. If they have a temple that is as far as size, decent, that they can hold, they can fill up the pews, right? Then that should be open every day, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and it's
right.
an open house.
Mhm.
And every single Moorish Science Temple should be like that. Whether they're renting, whether it's a Lodi or whatever like that, doesn't matter. That's how it should be.
Mhm.
So that it can be seen functioning. Because people don't see it function because that was part of the whole destabilization program.
Mhm.
Is that the functioning of the Moorish Science Temple of America will be only in the Adab chamber. When the functioning is supposed to be in the open for everybody to see what Moorish science is about.
Well, wouldn't that be considered then private?
No, but see, well, if you're running it like a club, yeah, it's private activity. But if it's nationhood, then that's common knowledge that everybody's supposed to have. That's
what I'm saying. So you're saying it's now operating more, and I'm saying more like it's a club. But sometimes I wonder but sometimes I wonder if the people in the check this out. I wonder if the people that are, if that were the case, even like a club, if the people that are in the adept are really adept, because I go back to also. Now I wonder if they really adept, because the prophet said adepts are born not made. But aside from that, I wonder if those who are operating that way, Cujo, are really adept.
Yeah, but more than likely they are, because you're not going to get that far without being adept.
Oh, you mean control the people like that and run it?
Yeah, like you're not going to be able to do that. You're not going to be able to run Jedi mind tricks on people like that.
Okay.
If you're not adept.
So then they would be considered what? Infiltrated thoughts,
sellout.
Dirty
infiltrated
Moor,
sellout trader. The people who who always make it fall. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Wow. The man who always takes one for the other team. Accidentally tips it in the basket and stuff like that. Talk about oops. So what they've done, if they've done that, if they've done things malicious with Moorish Science Temple, then that's not Moorish Science Temple. I don't care if their sign says that for the past 20, 50 years.
Yeah.
If they haven't done what Moorish Science Temple is supposed to do, then that thing was never a Moorish Science Temple, regardless of what flag they got in the window or what sign they have up, who goes in and out of there, what they're wearing. It doesn't mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because the bottom line is that this was supposed to inspire other people who were in mental slavery to see that there was a way out.
Mm-hmm.
Like Drew Ali talked about in the prophecies, that the sister going to the store and running back and telling her mom that she saw more. That's going on right now. That's going on right now. All these Moors out here going buying their fezzes, going outside, and then when they go outside, Moors who are in the temple see them with the fezzes and asking them how come they're wearing their fezzes outside the temple.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, we got like crazy amount of calls with that. A Moor just got his fez, you know what I mean? He's excited and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Put on his fez, go outside. And bump into a Moor outside.
Wow.
And the Moor is like, you're a Moor? You know, and the brother has his fez on. He's like, yeah, you know what I mean? Islam and all that. No, what do you mean? Like, what temple you from or whatever? Who says you could wear your fez outside and all that type of stuff? This is what another Moor is telling a Moor.
Wow. Who could wear your fez outside? That's
wow, man, that's crazy. Oh,
man.
That's clubbism to the nine. That got nothing to do with humanity, the civics, that. Wow. So, I don't know, I guess some people like to be in the club, so there you go.
Yeah, you know, there's going to be collateral damage always.
Yeah.
You know, it's nothing personal.
That's crazy.
Well, it's going to be what it's going to be, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, people have taken the position of you know that it's people that try to make the movement look bad, but never call out the people, always call out the movement.
Say that again now? Explain that.
People know that there's issues in the Moorish movement.
Okay.
But opposed to pinpointing the individuals that are causing the issues,
right?
They blame the movement. No different than, you know, black guy blames the white man. It's like a psychological trigger that regardless of what school of thought you go into, never blame the real enemy.
You never identify the parties properly.
Never identify the parties.
Yeah.
Right?
That
always no corpus delicti.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that happens a lot.
Yeah, the party has to be identified.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and we're doing our best to, you know, identify the parties. So like we say, people know who's who and what's what.
Yeah. Yeah. But these are the times. These are those times right now. Let me think of that song, These Are the Good Times. And, you know, great and dreadful, but I think now it's a true shake-up and a force to make changes, one way or the other, you know, and everything will come up to the light.
Indeed, indeed. Well, the most I could say is, for the most time, when I speak and I'm speaking about a certain energy, like I don't specifically give people's appellations. I speak about the energy that's out there.
Yeah.
Who it is, you can see what it is. In another aspect, Muhammad Ali was going into that. You know what I mean? Who's to say, you know, who's good, who's right, who's wrong? That's for the energy to judge. So everybody gets it through the energy. It just is what it is. Because I noticed this a long time ago. The lesson is simple. Noble Drew Ali said, if you can't convince your brethren or your sister that you are not Negro, black, or colored, there's basically nothing else to discuss with them. It is what it is. They're just that type of energy. You know what I mean? So that's why I said I don't endeavor to fall into disputes. You know what I mean? I appreciate it, but more or less, if y'all can stay on the vibe with the energy that's out there, y'all will pick it up anyway. So y'all already know. It just is what it is. Islam.
Islam.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's all out there now. Moving on. We there's so much that we really did want to talk about, and I don't know whether you read that letter. You completed that letter, right? Is she there?
What letter?
I mean, what you just read, that broadcast about bringing everything back to. See that you just read about the discussion there, where the feds are going to take away adjudicating. Okay, what that is just dawned on me that when party to when Prophet Noah Ali had warned us in his prophecy that, look, I don't care what it looks like, it's all going to go back in your hands, because when that happens, see, this is coming back into the people's hands. And that's what would end up happening at that point when it goes back to the Constitution and to the divine rights and things like that. It's automatically going back into the people's hands right there. So when they get that taken away from them, you're right. What will they do? How will they? We've always said it. Put food on their plate. I mean, I know they're going to still rob, cheat, steal, rape, murder, unsuspecting people who seem to be walking off the cliff. You know what I mean? Like they don't know any different. They don't. You know, they're going to get a certain amount of them, but for the most part, most people, the consciousness is raising to some degree, and even those who are raising who still don't want to honor their mothers and fathers and their illustrious history as the mothers and as the lineal descendant fathers on the planet, they are going to be doing a lot of sellouts, a lot of buyouts, and like Cujo said, they're going to be selling out. I mean, you're going to really have to be very careful about who you're dealing with, because it's going to be so chaos. But out of chaos comes order. So during that time that this is happening, it's like it's really civil through the air, you know. And during that time, you're going to have to be really careful about what you're doing, because there's people, it's not just these modern Europeans who've been operating as corporations telling you that they're government. It's also your own people who've been also making finance off of the ignorance of the people, too. We got to include them in that, because they're rearing their ugly head in a way they're trying to pull up ranks and everything, you know. They have a mission also. And they're you're going to have to be careful with that, too, because they're showing their agenda, and it's all going to be so much going on. But, again, like I said, order only comes out of chaos, you know. So people got to be careful on both sides, because those who are, they say, so-called black consciousness, they're against anything that's actually positive. You're talking about the energy in terms of, you know, like they may look at it like, oh, Moors versus the black conscious, that's not even what this is, but in their mind they think it is. You understand what I'm saying? And if in their mind they think it is, you know, they're going to be in for a rude awakening.
Yeah, but see what it is this to present day, the so-called black conscious community that you see, you know, on your digital wave or Facebook or whatever, and I'm not hating, there's a lot of people who deliberately, you know, are acting like you can't tell them anything about Moors, which is why there's no need to have any type of rap with them, right? Everybody has been there, told them about Moors, things of that nature, all right? And it's still acting like Moors is a hoax, like, you know, being a Moorish American or being a Moor or anything relative to Moors, you know, is a contagion or a disease or something. These same Moors who are speaking like that, are the same, quote-unquote, brothers and sisters that Noble Drew Ali was speaking about when he said, if you cannot convince them that you're not Negro, black, or colored, that they're not Negro, black, and colored, you don't need to have any more conversation with them. Like, it's not even a need to. You know what I mean? Because it's a wrap for them. We would love to, we wish that people would understand why this is important. However, if you're blatantly rejecting your nationality and birthright, right? Because it's not an organization that, people are coming up with. We're talking about the nationality itself and every aspect of autonomy that goes with it. So the thing is, if they don't want that, right? Like, you got to reflect back. Araminta Ross Bay, who they called Harriet Tubman, what did she say? She said, we could have freed more slaves, quote unquote. If what? What? You know the rest, right?
If they knew that they were slaves, right.
All right, then. You know what I mean? Some people you can't free them because their mind state is stuck there. So that's what it is. And, they're going to talk trash, hating when you stole the master's horse and you riding down the dirt road or whatever, the lonely path or whatever it is. They're going to be like, oh, he looks stupid on that horse. And you're like, yeah, y'all look stupid in that field. But I'm gone. You know what I mean? I'm out of here. Y'all can stay on that field if you want to and talk about how stupid we look on this horse. But, you know what I mean? You love your condition, and that's your choice. I'm out. You know what I mean? So that's the point of or the metaphysical aspect of what Noble Drew Ali was saying. Listen, if you can't convince them that they're not Negro, black, or colored, then there's nothing to talk about because we're trying to get free, getting out of these brands. We love all our people the same. Like, as far as the concept of is, Moors versus listen, we know being Moors, we know that we're all Moors. It's nothing for us to dispute. It's just these people who have some other agenda, and this comes under a multitude of people, so I can't specifically point it out, but anybody who's speaking against the autonomous, the birthrights of Moors, exercising not just their membership, but their actual autonomy, in the same wise as the brethren Muhammad Ali did. You know what I mean? By making those allodial self-determination decisions, understanding that this is not just about one person, one being, this is for all of us, right? But if y'all want to stay on the field, all we can say is quote Harriet Tubman, and so-called Harriet Tubman, Araminta Ross Bay. That's her legacy. And you know what? There's been a lot of things that went on this particular year where these figures, these Moorish liberating figures, are being thrown in our face every single month, all day, every day. So my thing is this. So-called Prince, he passed. For whatever reason, whatever his sexuality was, I'm not speaking of that. I don't support that. I'm not speaking of that. I'm speaking of what he showed you how to do as far as liberating yourself out of different contracts and becoming the allodial, being in the allodial position with your creations. Same thing with the brother Muhammad Ali. Same thing with them trying to put Araminta Ross Bay on the 20 note. All of these things correlate. So these are all liberating figures that you really should look back on and not just get this story off of ESPN or the news. Like, really look into these people and what the message is that's being put out, this particular Gregorian 2016 calendar, because we already through the halfway mark. It's already halfway through. So far, if we could just do a 180 and reflect, right? What messages did you get from the people that passed? Their life. Not anything else but their life. What did you get? And that's all I'm saying is that these liberating figures, everybody talking about they love their ancestors and all of that. If you're not respecting what was done just in the past 100 years, say past 100 years, no, past 110 years, say, you know what I mean? Then, stay on the plantation. But we moving on, and you could talk about how dumb people look and they ride on their horses or whatever, but you're still on the field and you had a choice to leave. And nobody forcing you. That's it. It's mental slavery. It's mental servitude. So did nobody stop on the Underground Railroad, figuratively speaking, right? If we take the concept that they were moving, and once you started moving with them, if you tried to turn back, you would get off. Light switch off. Good night. No, real fact. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But if you made the choice to not even go on the journey down the path, guess what? You got left. And everybody kept going on the path. So that's all I'm saying is, say a prayer for the lost souls that are living on the earth plane in the flesh. These people who are mentally civil little mortals, WWE, WWF, WCW, wrestling type mentality. But 2020 vision. That's all I could say, fam.
Coming up. Yes, indeed.
2020 coming up. 2020 vision. Islam.
Islam, man. In my mind is telling me there was something else that we wanted to mention this evening also. Because it's really, listen, I'm stuck on. No, I am. I'm stuck on the fact that what you're saying that's coming down the line, because everybody wants to try to get in order now because they know that guillotine is coming down on them. But I'm really looking at what the heck will go down when these people. Like, we already know that they're not government. We already know that their courts aren't courts. We know this already. And so when somebody's probably thinking, well, then if they're not courts, why are you talking about how the court's supposed to be? Because they're not courts don't mean that, especially wherever the Moor is, you're already holding court anyway. It doesn't mean that you don't understand what that is about and what that preserves and what the law of the land preserves as well. As to why you need to enforce it. Just because they're not operating from it don't mean you're not. Matter of fact, you're more held to it to enforce it than anybody, because that thing is protecting you from being molested. That's what it's. But without recognizing it or without acknowledging, it's not going to go down. But it is what it is, and it's coming up. So I'm still stuck on how things is what's going to go down to even have the conversation, to even for the so-called federal government to say, of which they implement, as you said, they have these programs on the preservation of the people's liberties and for the betterment, just like the preamble says, prosperity, better union, all that. They have these programs, and they give it to you and say, look, you implement this program. And then they find out that you're not just implementing the program, you're creating stuff and doing things and robbing and stealing and cheating and all of this stuff, and now they've caught you. And now they're saying, I'm going to take that program back, because they never were government anyway. They were just agencies, and they themselves are corporations. So, and they say, well, look, I'm going to take that back. What the heck? That's going to be that's going to be major big-time major problems. Not problems, but each circumstances are going to be set up where this is why he said everybody's going to be forced to make changes, because you're going to have to recognize what's really going on. You're going to be forced to be on your square and to be on your square and to know what is what and who is who. You're going to have to know this. So I'm kind of still stuck on that, because I'm wondering how that's going to pan out. Again, I know there's going to be people, including some of your own, that are going to still try to get you because you refuse. So somebody's always going to be there to try to chomp you. But if this goes down, I don't know. I mean, it is going down, and it is going to be just like Prophet Nabil Ali said. It's all going to shut down, but when it comes back, it's going to be in the hands of of the Moors, the Aboriginal Indigenous Natural people. So we're going to come up on that on a for real basis, and those who are still asleep, they're going to have a final resting place for that. I'll be the last. That's going to be a final resting place. And you're going to still be living and breathing in these. You think this? Man, it's gonna be off the chain, man.
Everybody is being forced to make change. You can't escape it. It's like if you don't, you might not want to address it, but it's not going to bypass you at all. Mm-hmm. So if there is a thinking that well, that's for you, because a lot of times we hear people talking about, well, that's your belief, or that's your organization, or that's your group, or they use all of these terms that denote some sort of corporation, and this is not a corporation. This is about bloodline. Bloodline is not a corporation. So all of those people who just don't want to acknowledge that this is bloodline, this is nationality, this is nationhood, they are going to be forced to make change. But we also have some proclaimed Moors that may not be entirely clear. They might not be declared, which means to be clear. They're going to be forced to make change too, because whether we like it or not, we have things to do for us, for each of us. And too often, we get preoccupied with somebody else. That's not our mission. That's not why we're here. We're here for us, for our salvation. And that's why Prophet Nabil Ali said, I give you enough to save the nation, now save yourself. Now, if you're not working on self, then you are not, effectuating the mission, because that's what it's about. And working on self is a never-ending process. So if you're not working on yourself, when these changes come about, you're not going to have the wherewithal to deal with not just the change, or I should say the going back to that constitutional fold, because, see, it ain't just going back to the constitutional fold that we're talking about. It's going back to that energy. So if you are not working on yourself, you ain't going to be able to deal with the constitutional fold or the energy. Mm-hmm. So this is why we have to work on ourselves and stop being preoccupied with saving other people, because you can't. This is such an individual lesson, and really, and just so that people can comprehend just how individual this. Everybody got issues going on within themselves. I don't care who you are or where you are on this continent. We all have, or even on planet Earth, everybody got issues going on. Now, just think about it. Just think about it, because there is no answer. Just think about it. Can somebody else handle answering any question whatsoever regarding you? And the answer is no. Not even your mother can answer questions regarding you, because you're the only one that can answer for you.
Right. First-hand knowledge.
There's so many lessons, and we all of us, we're here to learn lessons. And I don't know nobody who is going into, in the midst of any lesson that they are here to learn, and they want to do it. Nobody wants to. Nobody wants to do it. But You do it because you recognize you made an agreement to do it. And even if you're going through it, it's going to feel painful. You're going to feel like, at least I know I feel like I want to cry. But I do it even if I have to cry through the whole thing because that's the agreement I made. And there's no explaining it. There's no explaining it, and no one can answer for you. And so everything, there's just so much happening. And it's happening. It's like more and more things is happening. The time is speeding up. The energy is intensifying, and we have to act accordingly. We can't be like, an ostrich with our head stuck in the ground. We can't be that way. We have to wake up, we got to stand up, and we got to study, and we got to prepare ourselves because there is a change coming, and it's not a change that we are going to be familiar with. So if you're not prepared, you ain't going to be able to run and keep up. That's just the way it is. You ain't going to be able to run and keep up. So.
And it's to correlate with what you're saying right now as far as the concept of everybody having to be in order and in line. I don't watch sports as much. I usually watch the highlights. But if I can make a correlation, the other day my younger cousin came to visit us, and he brought through an old family tape. But we were sitting here and we were watching a basketball game. It was game 1 of Cleveland versus Golden State Warriors. And I sat here and I watched the game with my younger cousin. He's into basketball in college and things of that nature. So I watched the game with him. And Golden State, man, they beat the brakes off of Cleveland. And I say this to correlate what I learned from watching that game with him is this, to compare it to Nationality. The reason why the other team dusted Cleveland like they did is because they had shooters, they had good contributors in anybody who they passed the ball to. Everybody had something to contribute. Cleveland did not, right? So they got a team, but it's based around just a few people. But on the other team, including like who Joe was saying, in the background, the people on the bench, they were contributing to the organized effort of a goal. And everybody has something to contribute. Nobody else was like, take this for me, win this game for me, win this like you, or I. Everybody has to be able to contribute. So I just wanted to use that metaphor in correlation with what you were saying about individuals having to work on themselves and thus contributing to a larger cause. You get what I'm saying? Because if you don't cultivate your energy for what it's intended for, you can't contribute to others. Or if you're neglecting what you got to cultivate in yourself to actually, work on others, you might not be as good as you could be. So if everybody is holding their own weight, you know what I mean, and playing the position, and this is not a game, but again, I'm speaking metaphorically, you have a well-rounded unit, you know what I mean? It's well-rounded. So I say that to say that, yes, everybody, even though this is more than a 5, 10, 15 roster type of thing, we're talking about a nation. I'm saying if we could convert that concept or broaden that concept on a larger scale, we will all be contributing to the benefit of us all as a nation, and opposed to, you know what I mean, an individual mentality or lack thereof. I just wanted to say that. Islam.
Well, it is 11:30.
Yeah. Before you go there, are we gonna wait to discuss that? Yeah, has to go on its own about what just the tape Ms. and you said about that court where they're charging the young teenage girl. We can't even really explain that, even in our words.
No.
Can't even be explained. They're going to charge her as if she was a black person, a black.
That's actually a whole show all by itself, because there's a lot more that has to be explained regarding that.
Yeah, because it doesn't even make it. It's very unreal. It's like I can't even believe that. But it's good proof on where things really, really are, no matter what we think they are, and that these people are not your family.
Yes.
Moving on. Yeah.
Well, like I said, it's 11:30, which means that the internet feed has gone down. So
wow.
If you were not able to call in and secure any of the empty lines, you need to just listen. Wait until 12:30 and download the archives. Or I should say after 12:30, and download the archives. But what I want to do now is I would like to take some callers, because I know there's probably a lot of questions. So if you have a question, comment, concern that you would like to raise, please press 1 on your telephone dial, and we will take your call. All righty. Our first caller is caller 347-489. You're live on the air.
You're having a good day.
All right. I don't know what that is.
That sounds like Jason, the scary movie, Jason. What was that about? Yeah. Crazy.
All right. Caller 470-505. You're live on the air. Please say your appellation and Northwest Maxim.
Islam. This is Brother Rashad L., Moorish American National Appropriate Persona, full life, free white person, sojourns in de jure. I am calling out of the Georgia Republic right now, and I just want to tell you I've thoroughly enjoyed this broadcast from the very beginning, even before the show came on, listening to the Jamaican tunes up until now. The conversation has been great. And I've been this time I came prepared. Like I actually wrote down notes because last time I was just so discombobulated, I actually forgot some questions. But I want to be quick because I know there's other people on the line that want to ask. So the first thing I wanted to mention was with Muhammad Ali's title, which we talked about, or y'all talked about Cassius Clay. But I remember reading the oral statements of Noble Drew Ali, and he was saying that statements I vaguely remember is that he was saying basically with the title Ali that's like an exalted title. That
right.
It's kind of like he didn't say we shouldn't. Well, he did say you shouldn't use it, but at the same time, you have people who do use that title. But what I was going to say is we know that there's powers behind names. But do you think with Muhammad Ali accepting that title of Ali, that's like one of the biggest contributions that exalted him in the sense of giving, like that name gave him power by itself, by him claiming to be Ali.
Absolutely.
But he already had it with him.
Absolutely. But you know what? The thing you got to recognize this is, as well is that he was born what he was.
Yeah.
He just came and got his tools back. That's really what happened. Like, yeah, you know what I mean? That appellation contributed greatly to his legacy, to everything. But the thing is, you have to realize that he was that when he was born. All right?
Yeah, that's the ball.
That's what you really got to recognize is that he wasn't made that. He was born that. So when you talk about the elevated one, the exalted one, the Most High, or et cetera, brother, just naming somebody who was getting it in like he was. Cool. I'm just saying. So absolutely, you know what I mean? Going in there, doing things different than everybody. Nothing textbook style. Nothing textbook.
Well, no,
at
like
all.
he lived up to that title. That title lived up to him. He was that. Like, I mean, you just said it, Miss. He was already, for a purpose and a reason, he was already that. Because, Ms., as you were saying, it wasn't just a boxing ring. It was every aspect of his life. He was totally squared out. I mean, and of course, he was a master of his boxing, which is what he did. But he was a master of many other things too. And he was an adept, no doubt, because remember the prophet said, "That's the born, not made." So he already had the conscience in his mind and the way in which he thought. No matter what you brought to him, he was highly intelligent in that respect. And so he already had that spirit with him, no matter what he did and where he went.
You know.
Okay.
Also, I want to mention.
Hold on, on the E. On the E, I don't want to cut your wisdom. Please, if you could just pin your thought. I wanted to say this too. Keep in mind, he also was saying mantras before he even got in his free national appellation. He was already saying the mantra that he was the greatest. Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Manifested his reality with that one. Yeah. Go ahead,
absolutely.
When you look at Muhammad Ali, right? Muhammad Ali embodied several things that really demonstrated that Ali title was appropriate. Number one, clearly knew how to fight. He knows how to fight, which means he has that mufti title. Number two, he definitely knew law, and he was able to present it himself, right?
Yeah.
And he was able to manifest his reality as he did using the science.
Yeah.
Right.
All right? That's an Ali. He wasn't just walking around calling himself an Ali. He demonstrated the qualities of an Ali.
Without question.
So he is an Ali. Because the only way you can have an Ali title is if you have manifested the qualities of an Ali. You ain't just slapping Ali on your appellation and you don't know how to manifest nothing. You don't know law. You ain't been in no lawful situation, and you don't even know, and you don't know how to fight or defend yourself. Those it's not either or, it's all.
True. And I see people do that, and we try to explain to them, listen, you really ought not use that. Like even Allah to give Allah as an appellation, and then you tell them, listen, you might want to reconsider that. You know why, and you figured if you say it, maybe they'll fit because that's their consideration, right? And then 2 weeks later, they're calling you up for something, and you find out that they absolutely know jack about law, which is the reason why I told you shouldn't have that appellation, because now you got to live up to that, and you don't. So you should put that down. You know what I mean?
Yep. And put this in perspective too. He had one. If you go back in antiquity literature about Moors, or early 20th century literature about Moors, when they was still going back, BC timelines in history. He also attributed or exhibited one of chief Moorish attributes, which was lyricism. Okay, he was also a lyricist. So he was great in so many ways, and those who's looking for who found it or took rhyming mainstream definitely cannot leave that man out of perspective. You know what I mean? Because he brought all of that to all of that. You know what I mean? Written poems and reciting poems early. So you look at your history of the book, History of the Moorish Empire in Europe, and it goes in, and they was talking about how one of the natural attributes of the Moor or the Muslim is the fact that they are like born poets. And then you look in the light of Egypt, they go into how the poet is like the adder, born and not made. I mean, they compared the two because it's one and the same. So the Moorish, and big acknowledgement to Cujo as well for doing this thing with the lyrics and things of that nature. But you can't forget that that's a chief Moorish attribute of antiquity. Speaking in rhymes, and actually making your rhymes make sense. You're speaking real life. So compare what he was saying and his style of rhyming to the type of garbage you hear today. And give credit where it's due as far as when you look at Moorish lyricism. It is important in our culture. It is important in our history. Enough that they documented it down to say this is a attribute of Moors. So, it's just when you think of this brother, it's so much to talk about, and pardon me, but I didn't want to get off the chief principle. But
no, you good. That absolutely answered my question. No, that's good. And not to intervene, just to jump in real quick, I was going to also say was also interesting about when Muhammad Ali transitioned. My mother was telling me about how in the news they were saying that it was his daughter. I know her name. I don't know why my mind's going blank like this, but basically, him and his family were surrounded around him, and they were saying a prayer and talking into his ear and telling him basically that he can transition on and move on. And as soon as they said that to him, the doctor said that all of his organs shut down except for his heart, which is, the heart is the highest chakra, and his heart remained beating for 30 minutes. They said they never seen anything like that happen before. Every organ in his body shut down except for his heart, which remained beating for 30 minutes, and then he finally just transitioned out. But I thought that within itself was, that's amazing. That's miraculous, in my opinion.
That's a long time to maintain.
30
but
minutes.
The body automatically will shut down all the other organs and preserve the vital ones, and one by one shut them down, and the last would be the heart. But that's a long time. But yeah, that's
okay. I didn't know that. But yeah, I just thought that was miraculous, though.
Well, that's what happens. It'll try to stay. It'll cut everything else off to try to save the vital organs. And that's it. Tick tock goes the clock.
Indeed. Another thing I want to ask, and this will be the last note. I was working on some writs, and I know I kind of briefly spoke about an incident that took place May 27th, May 29th this year. And it's so much that I'm putting into this writ that it's taking a minute. I wanted to really have it out the next day, but I'm pushing to have it out. Right, yeah, also because I know I saw a video with Todd saying it's best to do it within 72 hours because I know how they try to put stuff on the stock market, but with this particular writ, it's so detailed, I don't want to just send it out any type of way, which I don't do that with anything. But my question was, I noticed on the headings of each writ, not the actual writ itself, meaning that, okay, this is a default judgment, judicial notice, or this is a writ of discovery, but the actual header itself, I noticed there's three different types of writs that I see. The first type of writ that I see, it has the Great Seal on the far left, it has the handshake in the middle, and then it has the eagle on the far right with the fez and the 13 stars, and then there's another heading that I see that has the Moorish flag on the far left, the handshake in the middle, and then on the far right it has the so-called American flag or the U.S. flag. And then the last heading that I see is the Moorish flag in the far right corner, the Great Seal in the middle, and then it's the American flag on the far right. Which doesn't really matter.
Not the American flag. Is that what you mean?
Well, yeah. Excuse me for that.
Call it what it is.
Spangled Banner.
Okay.
Exactly. But does it matter what heading that you use as long as you have the right title as far as what type of writ it is, or does the heading absolutely matter when you're doing these writs?
Well, not all the writs that you're doing I know needs to be sealed, and I think that there is a one is like when you see the hand. Some of them you don't see the handshake in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to imagine. I can't right off the fly imagine all the ones you're talking about. I mean, you might know them better than I do since you use them more often. But it's funny because the question you're asking also people will ask is, they think, do I seal these documents, right? Or, like everything you write is an affidavit or a writ, of course, because it's written. So it's all affidavit, but it depends. It has a title. You got a writ of discovery. You got, a request for abrogated jurisdiction or, delegation authority, whatever, like that. And some of them don't need to be sealed. Like that's the same question that's be coming up. Like, what do I seal? And you explained it very well. And I don't know if it's in connection with those headings or not. But it's like if it's something that's open-ended, then you don't seal it. Like if you're doing a lawful notice, boom, it's sealed, it's done. But if you're putting in an abrogated jurisdiction request, if you're putting in a discovery, well, the document itself goes in as not complete, so it doesn't get sealed. Because in order for it to be for its effectuation is that if you put it in, it's open, waiting for the return back. You understand what I'm saying?
I think I do. You're saying basically
you could put that in without a heading if you wanted to. I'm not saying that you should or you shouldn't, but you could put it in without a heading because it's a document that's asking for information to come back, so you don't seal it. Because once it's sealed, it's done. It's lawful.
I think what he's asking is the heading, like the letterhead, the different letterhead format. Yeah. He's talking about like for example, on the proclamation you have there's the banner, the Moorish flag, and the handshake.
Moorish flag, the handshake, and the spangled banner.
Right. So, but then, like on the website, we have examples of writs, and they have like the eagle seal on the right,
yes, ma'am. Yeah, those.
On the left, and then the handshake in the center. Me personally, I don't reference the Star Spangled Banner. I use in any of my documents because I just don't. What I do is I use the pyramid seal and the eagle seal and the handshake in the center. That letterhead with all of the verbiage underneath that says the Moorish government, Moorish federal government. That's what I use. But also it depends on what you're doing and what the situation is, because there is another seal that's like a blue type of pyramid, and sometimes that you'll see that in the center top of a document. That's good too. Mm-hmm. So it depends on what you're doing, and what kind of force you want to come with.
What I'm doing is really just sending these people as hard as I can so they just leave and stop violating me and my family. And it was, again, with the incident about, it's relating to child services and my niece, but I'm working on the writs now. They try to come out, kidnap my sister. They couldn't do it because I'm like very versed in law as far as knowing what to say in my house or in my domicile. So I did all the talking, and they just left, and they came again Sunday. I was already infuriated that Friday, but it's like I started working on the writs immediately, but it kind of detoured me when they came back out Sunday, so I had to write a whole nother writ. So that was like 10 pages from Sunday, and it was like 7 pages from Friday, excuse me. But just looking at the heading, I just wanted to be sure.
Here's what you need to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you sending this writ to?
I'm sending the writs to the embassies, the Interpols, the international.
All right.
Who else?
Right. But here's the thing: when anybody does injury to you, or not you specifically, but if in general, if anybody ever does injury to you, the course of action is to sue them. Injured you, and you need to be made whole again. Now, one of the things that has to happen first is that agency or that corporation has to be investigated. You need to be able to tell how they are a corporation. Where did they come from? How are they funded? Where are they getting money from? If they're a corporation, I can bet that whoever is doing this, they fall under the municipal corporation. I can bet. I can.
Indeed.
I can
Superior Court.
I can bet my vast estate they fall under the municipal corporation because the states and the feds, they don't do that. They don't. These municipal corporations, they do things in the name of the state, but they're not an agency of the state, and they know that 9 times out of 10, we don't know how they even came into being, and we are not going to tell on them by reporting them to the state. And you can't tell on them by reporting them to the state unless you know where the hell they came from.
Mm-hmm.
So they know this, and that's why they do what they do. So first thing what has to happen is, look, they're violating your right as a people because they're interfering in your family. That right there is grounds for a suit.
All right.
The
And I was going to sue them too, but
was able to send out a writ and they leave you alone is over. They've called our bluff so many times that we have to sue them now. Because all of our writs in the past have said, if you keep on bothering me, I'm going to sue you. You keep on, and they were like, oh, we better back off. But then they realize, look, these Moors ain't even suing us. They keep saying they're going to sue us, but they don't never sue us. So let's just keep on doing what we're doing because they ain't going to sue us. And so they're calling our bluff. Time for us to sue them.
And it's like even with the suing, what's the right way to go about even doing that? Because as a Moor, I know we don't use their courts because they're kangaroo courts, pseudo courts, de facto, but it's like I know the highest is the federal. We really supposed to be going to council courts, but I mean, I'm in this Republic of Georgia Republic, and as far as I know, I haven't been able to find any outlets.
Well, Georgia is a corporation, so you're not a part of any Georgia Republic. Georgia's a corporation, and Georgia's not attacking you. However, the municipal corporation that is registered to do business with the Georgia corporation, they are attacking you. So what you have to do is you have to first find out how are they funded, because 9 times out of 10, what you're going to find is that they're funded by the feds, but the feds pay the money to the state contractors and pay them. But what's the program that they are supposed to be administering? Much like the right to travel and the motor vehicle program, I am sure that whatever they're supposed to be administering, they have stepped outside of the boundaries of that contractual obligation between them and the state and the feds. But you're never going to know until you do research and find that out. Because see, once you get that information, then you can write to the state, to the governor, and say, look, you hired these contractors to do this, to administer this program, and they're not doing it, and they're attacking me and my family. I need you to tell them to leave me alone. Now, if the governor doesn't step in and do what he's constitutionally bound to do, now you report him to the feds and you sue him in the federal court.
Okay. All right, I'm writing all this down.
But you have to go through you got to do the research, and you got to give them an opportunity to call off their contractors.
Right.
All right. And I wanted to ask you, Miss Anita L., did you receive the pictures that I sent in reference to my niece? Like as soon as I got the line with you, I sent so.
They went out yesterday or the day before.
Okay.
So you should be receiving them soon.
All right, thanks. Again, much love to all y'all, man. I'm thankful for what y'all doing. Islam as well to Cujo. I forgot to kind of throw his shout out from early when they was talking about Ali and the chakras, but and I want to say this too. I think it's funny that people like get on the line and call, ask questions, and it's like after waiting 2 hours, and the moment that comes in for them to ask questions, they never run the phone like you hear like dishes in the bag or just a bunch of yelling and stuff. But I made sure I was gonna get my spot in here. But again, thanks y'all for everything that y'all doing. Islam, shalom, and much love.
All right, peace and love.
All right.
All right, our next caller, and it looks like we may have maybe only two for the night. Next caller is caller 972-839. You're live on the air. Please state your affiliation and Northwest Mexico.
Islam.
Islam.
Islam, can you hear me?
Yes, I think we can hear you.
Brother Shakar? Yes. It's Abdul Malik Shakar from the Texas Republic Territory, Northwest Mexico. This is a great show y'all having today, giving all honor to the greatest Noble Drew Ali. And I won't be too long because there are some more callers who want to call and have their question answered. I'm always coming out of one-on-one. It just says, the statement, it just says the great meaning is on, as you just stated. We're at the middle part of 2016. And it states also, Islam questionnaire for Moorish Americans. Who are you? Who made you? If you know who you are, Allah. Who is Allah? Allah is the Father of the universe. Can we see him? No. Where is the nearest place we can meet him? In the heart. Who is Noble Drew Ali? He is Allah's prophet. What is a prophet? A prophet is a thought of Allah manifested in flesh. What is the duty of a prophet? To save nations from the wrath of Allah. Who is the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America? Noble Drew Ali. What year was the Moorish Science Temple of America founded? In 1913 A.D. The young Moorish man just got off the phone before I entered in, and I've been in court on this one case 5 times. And I was the counsel for my wife. And when the judge called all attorneys to approach the bench, and I was looking, and she made the call again. And I got to turn my head around and see any other lawyers going, law holders, as she called them, was going to get up and approach the bench. And I looked back, and she was looking at me. And my wife, she told me afterwards, she kept composure. I know her. And study to show that I self-approved. RVBey have the writ, the core warranto. Please do not go off into these writs if you haven't studied and know what the precise definition of the word is stated and the meaning of the word. You must study, and not only study, you must apply yourself to it. And let me go on before I close and say this last thing. You were talking about the color and the differentiation. The name, some of the marks that were put on the Moors of Northwest by the European nations in 1770, Negro, black, colored, and Ethiopian, and now we're calling ourselves African American, 2 continent babies in one. What is the meaning of the word Negro? Negro is the name given to a river in West Africa by Moor because it contains black water. Did they have oil then? I thought. What is meant by the word black? Black, according to science, means death. What does the word colored mean? Colored means anything that has been painted, stained, varnished, or dyed. Remember, Negro, black, colored, and Ethiopian. And I think y'all had something to do with that. I can hear the words of Muhammad Ali. My mother named me Classic Clay. But Allah came into my heart, and I found the true way. Now I'll rise at Muhammad Ali. They call me the greatest. I know Islam. There was one at this house the year I'm in now. It was built in 1913. His name is Noble Ali. Islam. I leave the floor.
Islam.
Noble.
Islam. Well, thank you so much for that. And it does not seem as though we have any more callers. So, oh, wait, one more. Here's somebody. Caller 503-954. You are live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwestern Exum.
Islam Moorish. My name is Steve Jackson L. So I am Steve Jackson L. I'm sorry. I'm calling
Steve Jackson L.
Steve Jackson.
Oh, Steve.
L.
Yes. Okay.
I'm calling because I sent my judicial notice of proclamation and name correction last month, and I haven't heard anything back. I'm figuring you guys are pretty backed up because so many Moors are doing the same thing. I just wanted to make sure you received it.
What is your appellation?
Stephen Jackson L.
What I'm gonna have to do is check and see and get back to you. Did you send the processing form along with your? All right. So, and it has an email or a telephone number to contact you.
Yes, it does. Also, I sent 2 emails to you. One including my picture.
All righty. Let me ask you this: when you sent that processing form, so when you sent your processing form, you didn't send a picture with it?
No, I emailed it.
Did you write on the processing form that you emailed it?
I did not.
All right. Let me look and see if you said last month, it probably it might be returned to you because you didn't include the photo and you didn't write on the processing form that you emailed it. So, but let me get back. Let me check and get back to you. If I can find out tonight, then I will shoot you an email.
Okay.
All right. If not, I'll get back to you tomorrow.
That'd be fine. Thank you very much.
I just have one brief question, just real quick.
Yes.
Like, have you considered your free national appellation? Or I mean, like, not that's, the L is not, but, like, I'm just curious to know, no disrespect at all, but, like, how long have you contemplated declaring your nationality or your free national appellation?
I'd say over a year now.
All right. I just was curious to know about that.
Let me ask you this. Why that question?
Yeah, why ask?
Because I would just say this. I just wanted to know because there's nothing wrong with what you're doing. I mean, what you're claiming to be. I just was wondering, like, I just wanted to know how much time you put into actually thinking about what your free national appellation is, because to me personally, Stephen Jackson L still, I mean, the L lets us everybody know, but to me personally, Stephen Jackson still kind of sounds European. So I wanted to know, how long did you think about it before you said that's who you are?
No,
that's
it's
all.
The Jackson
that's the only
part, and the reason why it's the
Jackson
part. It's not the Stephen so much. It's the even though you look at the movie, the Stephen.
Yeah.
But it's
I just wanted to know.
Anytime you have a son like that, the truth of the matter is that the Europeans who didn't have any quote. It wasn't us, and so that whole process of that's Jack's son, that really wasn't applied to us. That was applied to them. So whenever you see the son part, Jackson, Johnson. That's all. That's
Okay.
what. Yeah.
One thing I noticed when I was reading the RV publication, it said that Noble Drew Ali said that don't get rid of your name, but you just add the A and, or the Bey and the L.
True.
Right. This is true. This is true.
My first form was I was going to sit in, and I changed it because.
Yeah, bro, you know that? Peace, man. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah,
I can hear you. Hold on a minute. I'm thinking
it dropped.
So I decided, since I read that on the website, not to get rid of your name.
Right. No question. And let me make this very clear. There's nothing wrong with what you're doing. I personally just wanted to know how long did you contemplate it to move like that. That's all I'm asking. That's the sole reason. Like how long? Like that is correct. Like putting the L on that for starters, because you might have a lot of things that you're obligated to in that particular nom de guerre. You know what I mean? Of just Stephen Jackson without the L. But I just, you know what I mean? And for you right now, that might be the best step. And there's nothing at all wrong with that. Get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Hold on. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing at all wrong with that. I just personally wanted to know how much did you give to that? That's all I was asking you for. That's why I asked.
The other thing, too, if I can add, he's right because even during the times when Prophet Drew Ali was on the scene, people would come in. Stephen Jackson threw the L on there, the Bey on there, whatever, and keep it moving. Your actual spiritual appellation really in full doesn't even have to be used public arena or even know what that is in that respect. So you're navigating with that. But when he said don't give it away, see, that's lawfully, that's X. That's the position of X-Rail. You understand? And plus, and also because it was whatever it was before you put the title on, this is for everybody, it's proof. See, that's proof of the fact that they stripped your nationality, but he already told you that happened. So what that means is you're navigating from one point to the other, like many are. So when they call up Stephen Jackson, you have to use X-Rail and sign everything new with the new appellation with the L on it or whatever it's going to be. So that's what it's really meant about not giving it up. It's a lawful position called X-Rail. Right. And X-Rail means that you have information about something, and the only two people on the planet lawfully that can even take the position of X-Rail. It's either an attorney general because he speaks for corporations or someone who is now in their proper person. That's the only two. And so it makes it real clear on what's going on with that.
I remember reading that on the website. Yeah, I'm very familiar.
I think I explained it. Yeah. All right. But it's all good. We're just wondering. It's the sun. All right, bro.
Like I said, I really like the Amir Malik Hassan L, but after reading that, I decided to
just do that for now because it was easier to walk from these shoes to that shoes, which is exactly what it was when you came into this information back during the day when you were coming into the temples proper. That's why you'll have that. I understand perfectly. And some people even do a dash ill and or a dash bait. And so I'm like, look, the time is up now. You know, just whatever you choose, be it that you throw the L on there or the Bey on there, just do that. Because the title, L and Bey, is the title to the ancestral estate. And that's what puts you under your nation, and regardless to whatever else may be, and you can make make adjustments later. So it's all good.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
I appreciate you guys a lot. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Peace and love.
Peace and love, brother.
Peace and love. Thank you for the call. All right. Now we have caller 804-921. You are live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwest Mexico.
Yes, this is Azad at RVBey, calling near the Virginia Corporation.
Oh, word.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
No,
yeah,
go ahead.
I was one of the last callers from last week, and I wanted to thank you, Ms., for coming on and giving your testimony, because I think I had said something similar to that by me getting pulled over with my bicycle and them actually harassing me. So I wanted to thank you, because you came out and made it plain, just pretty much made it plain. A couple things I want to speak.
Before you go on, I just want to acknowledge you for acknowledging that Islam. Peace and love.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of like the brother.
Pardon me. One more question, just so I make sure I'm on the same cue. You in the Shacklehockin area, right, or so-called Richmond? Yeah. All right. Salute, bro. All right. We was just out there too.
Oh wow! I wish I don't know.
We're gonna have to talk to you offline too, but go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of a couple things I want to hit on. Just listening to the last brother. I have I call it an affirmation, but it's a sign that I have on my wall. But it's written by a guy named Richard B. Moor. His Moor is sound with an E on the end. But what it says, slaves and dogs are named by their masters. Free men name themselves. And I just have that posted in my house or in my domicile. But it's the thing that I wanted to make a comment to is I was actually doing some studying, and I was going over the Real ID Act, and that I got off the site, and it's very interesting. I just wanted to make this comment, just like I said, just to make the comment, because like I said, I'm studying and wanted to get more information, because like I said, this whole information trail is wonderful, and it's always good to stay on it. So the thing that stood out to me is how they actually created this, and they want to create a national ID or something like that for the citizens of the United States. And this word that came out to me, diversity of citizenship.
Yeah. Article 3, it's right there. Go ahead.
So like I said, it's wonderful just to study and get this information, because this is the way of life. This is not, hey, this is something to come over here and play around with. This is life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to maneuver through this life, it takes studying. It takes studying. And I just want to make that comment, like I said, and I just want to give a shout out to Miz, because he most definitely helped me just by me listening to his testimony.
It's interesting.
I'm here.
To be united, like a U.S. National, that's like fiction. Like if you really know what's up, that that's not even, or the U.S. National ID or whatever the heck it is, that is absolutely a farce, because U.S. is an acronym or whatever like that. It's not, has nothing to do with land, so it's not a place where people can be in that respect, and that you could never be a national under that title. So they created that because you got to be very aware about the efforts that the modern Europeans today, and they're trying to get out from under. Some of them are trying to get out from under, and they just have been miseducated and having a hard time. But they're getting there to realize that they can't be sovereign, they can't be nationals, not American nationals anyway. But they're trying whatever they can. You know what I'm saying? And we have to be very aware of what that is all about. I was looking for missions. The two governments, like this is like kind of like you said, study. You're absolutely correct. I'm trying to find it right now because I'm going to be using it in tomorrow's class as well. Just give me a second. I know it's on one of these things. Where it basically says that there are two those who are resident within the U.S. are subject to two governments. One national, they're subject to the national, and the other is state. But there need be no conflict between the two. I mean, that just says it all right there. So if you choose to be, and I pulled this other thing out right today under Penlow versus Jones, which we said that our government is artificial, but it says if you are any type of U.S. citizen residing in any of the states of the Union, you are classified absolutely as this is a case law now, as property and franchises of the federal government as an individual entity. That's it, and that's all. So so you could never, ever get a whatever they talk about, a U.S. national or U.S. identification. It's not an identification. It's not that's not a nationality.
Yeah, because I went to a website, and the website was it was talking about, I think it was a DMV website, and it was asking, it said, citizens, are you ready for your national identification card? I was like, I said,
yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
that's
See,
crazy.
That's where you said study. You got to know that no, that's not possible. Because you got to be tied to the land with that. So how is the U.S. tied to this American land? They're not there. Even the United States of America is not a claim to the land. It's what was formed as a political jurisdiction for those foreigners. But it's not tied to the land. So that's what's happening with Europeans today. They're finding out that they're not sovereign at all here. You know, that it's just like explaining, I think, it's like the descendants of the South Africa, the Europeans, the descendants of those Europeans that went over there, their children, once the South African Aboriginal people there took their claim back and took their buildings back and just took possession, the modern Europeans went to the United Nations. This is a few years ago, and they was trying to claim genocide, and the United Nations came back with them and said, you can't do that because you are not the Aboriginal. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like the same thing. They're finding out you're not the Aboriginal any damn nowhere. You can't claim it. And that's what's about to come to the understanding. That is what's coming to their understanding now. So they're back into civil unrest again, only based on the fact, of what they think. I saw today on the news where they're talking all that political campaigning, president stuff, and I said to them, I couldn't believe. I'm like, wow, these people were saying, this guy, he's a Mexican. He's of Mexican heritage. This is a European woman, newscaster. He's not even American. And I'm like, wow. Sometimes I think that they do this on purpose just to brainwash the people who don't study. They don't know that that's an impossibility to say those who you call Mexicans are not of the American land. They are absolutely the descendants of Moor. Their ancestors are even the copper tone dark. And they were here before the Europeans got here. So how the hell can they say something like that? But they do it every day, all day. So without knowing what is what and who is who, people fall for that.
Yeah, this kind of, to kind of jump in, just me stepping on my door, because my as soon as I stepped out the house or at domicile, the cops are here now, and they kind of pull somebody over for finances, and the guy, he's unsuspecting because he's probably not aware. I'm pretty sure he's not aware of what it is that they're doing to him, and once we become conscious of that, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like if you go into any one of their tribunals, and we just talked about that experience. What do you see? A whole lot of people. And what did they say in the tribunal? What did they exactly say to the people that you said?
Everybody that came in there, they said they made them an offer. They asked them, are you willing to take the offer presented today? And almost, I think every last one of them said yes.
Yeah, they have no idea. How can you be in a so-called courtroom of justice and they say to you, are you ready to take the offer? They are telling you all day long that they ain't nothing but corporations, revenue generators. And if the people will continue to do that without being able to see that, they will continue to make those offers to you. You see what I'm saying?
And in addition to making them the offer, they also asked them if they were waiving their rights, and all of them said yes. But you see, the reason that they could say that was because that municipal corporation is in charge of, they put in a request to provide the so-called service of education. So they're definitely not going to inform the children that are sent to them of their rights. So when they ask the question, do you waive your rights? Of course they're going to say yes, because they don't even know what their rights are.
Because they've been trained in those education systems that they got finance for to educate, and they made sure that the children came out without knowing it.
That's right.
Yep. And that's why the government says you got to have your own schools. But, hey.
And that kind of goes back to what I think I shared with you all before. I helped my sister. She had some things going on, and she just called me the other day, and she was telling me that she has a capias for two different things, but one being for that not going to court. But I told her, we have to go and we have to do some more stuff. So she's been running from the information so she can go and finish doing what she needed to do. And she just called me. I said, just called me, tell me she got a capias. I told her, well, I understand what the capias is, and I wanted her to understand what it is, but it's all just for finances.
Build, and you know what? It's like right. We went through this before. Like these municipalities, when they put out a so-called municipal warrant, if you look it up, it's a bill of attainder. But then you go to the Constitution, I believe it's Article 1. It says that they're forbidden from making bills of attainder. See. So now, if the people don't know that,
I think,
they can.
I think when we looked up the definition of what was it? Was it check or it also said in there that a check or is a bill of attainder, or no, I'm sorry, a warrant.
Yeah, warrant, municipal warrant is definitely a bill of, specifically any warrant, but a municipal warrant is absolutely a bill of attainder. It's right in the Black's Law under municipal warrant. It says, and it describes it, and it says it's a bill of attainder. So now in your studies, you say, wait a minute, aren't they forbidden from making bills of attainder? But you think it's some actual lawful judicial warrant, but then, you would go and you say, well, what's a warrant supposed to be like? What's it supposed to look like? And it describes it to you. It's not that at all. I believe that's in Article 4. Article 4. So you got these things going on, but there it is. It's so simple. They're forbidden from creating bills of attainder, but yet the definition of a municipal warrant is a bill of attainder. See?
Yeah, so it's been a year. So they haven't, like I said, they haven't been to her house or where she domiciled. And like I told her, I just don't worry about it. Whatever. I mean, we'll get it together, but she has to come so she can get this information. I'm not going to chase her around. I mean, I'm not going to do that for any family.
You can't. That's what we were just talking about. In other words, what you're saying is, instead of her sitting down and really getting this and having it on her dial plate, you know what I mean? Well, she can dial it up, right? Because you have to be what you know. She wants to run around and do these other things and have you do it all for her, but it's really hard. It has to be able to know this. I understand what you're saying, whether she's family or not. See, because, like you said, there's no respect of person. You got to know this. I don't care who you are, because you are the law manifest.
Indeed. And we got like 5 minutes left. Can we get the Muhammad Ali play back before we close out?
Yes. Let's do that. We'll see everybody tomorrow at New York. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be wonderful.
I only have the one, so we'll play that, and then we'll do our normal music if we have time. So with that, we'll We'll see everyone tomorrow at the Moorish Heritage and History School. We will be there for the first of 3 weeks. Peace and love.
All right. 7 o'clock.
Say, tell me how you came to get such a Roman name as that. Well, as I understand, I'm Cassius Marcellus Clay VI, and my great-great-grandfather was a Kentucky slave, and he was named after some great Kentuckian. Well, Cassius Marcellus Clay is a great name in Kentucky. And really, where he was from or where it was all originated, I couldn't tell you. But since I've reached a little fame in boxing, most people want to know where I'm from and where did I get that name. But really, I haven't really checked on it. So I see that I'm going to have to go look into it. You'll have to look it up. See what it's all about now that I'm getting a little interview. Black was always bad in the Western world. The black cat was the bad luck. If you get put out of a fraternity group, you get blackballed. Shortly put, are the black Muslims taking you for a ride? I said not black Muslims. Muslims. I beg your pardon. Black was always bad. Muslim. I said not black Muslim. Muslim. I beg your pardon. See, the name Muhammad is the most common name in the world. There are more Muhammads on the planet. Muhammad.
Geico presents sharing versus oversharing. Today, Bridget Griffin shared a video of her daily yoga routine, 2 self-help articles, and her new blog called Build Your